Welcome to Looking at Legal Stuff. Today we have 3 hearings, including a shocking new update with a couple where dad has filed an ex parte motion to have mom's custody time stopped after an incident involving their son being made to walk home after an argument. The judge seems to think that dad is encouraging the child to be disrespectful to his mother and tells him to smarten up and return the child to mom today. He has a real problem with dad allowing the child to stay home from school just because his mother works there. Mom's lawyer claims to have proof that dad is showing the child court documents and calling mom the most vile names in front of their son to prove to him that his mother's a whore. Dad claims that no one is listening to him or his son and freaks out at the court. Then he rage quits the hearing while cursing out his ex-wife's lawyer. And those are just some of the highlights of these wild hearings. Let's see how the judge handles this.
For the record, this matter is before the court. And the defendant's motion for temporary possession of the minor child. And this hearing is being conducted via Zoom. Present is Attorney Krysten representing the plaintiff mother, Hope Smith. Ms. Smith is present. In addition, Attorney Jason Kazmarek is present representing the defendant father, David Sislak. Mr. Sislak is present with Mr. Kazmarek. And for the record, the court would note that an ex parte order was entered by Judge Lohmeyer in this court's absence on April 12th, 2024, awarding defendant father temporary possession of the 12-year-old child of the parties and reserving plaintiff mother's parenting time. Parties have conferred this morning with the front of the court. It was by the court to find recommendation that the ex parte order shall be vacated. The child needs to be returned to school today immediately. The minor child shall have his phone at all times. The child shall have reasonable phone contact with both parents. Neither party shall interfere with communication between the child and the other parent. And this recommendation resolves all parenting time complaints through today. So presumably the prior parenting time order would continue, namely father's parenting time in the first 3 weekends of the month, Friday at 6 to Sunday at 6, and the 4th week he has parenting time Wednesday at 6 to Friday at 6. That's the court's recollection. Ms. Nemec, is this recommendation agreeable with your client this morning?
It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Kazmarek, is this recommendation agreeable with your client?
It's not.
Okay, Mr. Kazmarek.
I mean, according to the police report, Leon states both. Well, he's been pretty consistent that he was in an argument with his mother in a vehicle, that he was hit and kicked out of the car by her, by Suter by Kroger, and had to walk to his mother's house. He told this both to my client and the police, and mother admits that she did kick him out of the car to make him walk to cool off. There's disagreement on the location where he was let out of the vehicle. There's also disagreement that he actually got hit. I met with Leon myself. He was pretty descriptive. He wants to be heard, Judge. I know he'd love to talk to you. I know that probably isn't going to happen, but he wants his voice to be heard. He wants to tell the front of the court. He wants to tell somebody how he feels. So after he was kicked out of the vehicle, he did walk to his mother's house, where they continued to argue. He tried to call for help to his dad. The phone was taken by his grandfather mid-recording, so he'd actually dialed the phone. His father's voicemail answered, and there was a voicemail recording where he was yelling, "You know what you did?" Said he wanted to call his dad, that he just wanted to tell dad what happened. Grandfather took his phone, and grandfather, who lives with his mother, kind of said, "Wah, wah, you had to walk home, big deal." So after that, Leon, the minor child, says that they told him, they said, "Get the fuck out of my house," is what he says. He left the home, and he was yelling, "You can't stop me," because mom was trying to get him back. He ends up walking to the Dollar General, which allegedly is about 2 miles away, called his father, pick him up.
Mr. Kazmarek, Mr. Kazmarek, rest assured the court has read every piece of pleading that has been filed.
Yes. Understand. So again, aside from that, I did talk to Leanne today. He's been pretty consistent. He's not comfortable at his mom's house right now. He told me he just wants to be able to tell that to somebody who can express that to the court. And I know I'm probably not the right person being dad's attorney, but he would like to speak to somebody. He would like, I asked him what kind of parenting time he'd like with his mom. He said he didn't know. But I asked him, he said he'd like a therapist when I discussed that would be an option. He wants therapeutic parenting time so he can start to reconnect with his mom on a different emotional level because he says that they don't know how to speak anymore together. He just feels kind of overwhelmed at that house with grandfather and grandmother and mother there that and mom's at his school. He's not comfortable and he just wants to be able to express that. That's what he wants. So that's what I'm asking for, Judge.
All right. All right. And if Mr. Pratt, do you think there's any merit in you interviewing this minor child? Again, before I get an answer to that, we have a 12-year-old boy that's not going to drive the bus. And the court believes, Mr. Cieslak, you're the father. You should tell your son he needs to respect his mother. It's no different than when he's disrespecting you and ignoring you, doesn't want to see you. The other parent needs to talk to that child and set that child straight. It's a 12-year-old. He needs his mother. And you have a big part in this whole issue here by reinforcing support for his relationship with his mother. That is huge. So that's just as important as counseling. Now, is the child right now in counseling? Are the parties identified a therapist or counselor to repair this relationship between mom and child?
Your Honor, the client has been in counseling since 2021, but he has not attended since he's been in Mr. Cieslak's possession since March 26th.
And I know that I did talk to Ms. Smith and I told her to make the appointment and my client would get him there and I've not received that there's any notification of an appointment. But Judge, the problem with Leon
so
is—
hold on. Let's get back in counseling. Who's got to schedule the counseling and whose time will be on, dad's or mom's?
I guess, Your Honor, that's dependent on what the court decides. Previously, it was on mom's time. Mom will go ahead and schedule that and get that handled, but Leon has been with dad all of this time. Dad has the contact information and is able to schedule counseling appointments and has chosen not to.
Okay.
I've been asking if there's been an appointment. There's been no appointment scheduled. So when I did talk to Ms. Smith prior to Ms. Neiman coming in, she had said that there was no future appointments made. And I said, well, if there is, I'll make sure my client gets him there. And I've been notified there's any appointment set, and neither is my client.
Mr. Cieslak had temporary possession of this child and he had the information. So I don't understand why Mr. Cieslak couldn't have scheduled that appointment.
Mr. Cieslak may speak for himself.
Okay, the counseling is presumably during the week, correct? Dad's spending time is primarily the weekends, except the fourth week of the month. So it's probably better if mom's probably in a better position to reschedule those therapy sessions. So the courts can order that therapy for the minor child forthwith continue. What about school? He's not been in school.
He
Your Honor, he's not at school today. I was informed.
That's correct. He met with me in my office today, and according to Leon, he didn't want to go to school, not knowing what was going to happen at the end of the day. He was kind of refusing to go to school because he wanted to speak to me. He wanted to speak to the court, and I told him that's not possible. He's sitting outside my office. But I know he wanted to know what the plans were. He didn't, because he's uncomfortable.
The plan is he's going to go to school today. You get him to school immediately when we get done here. Should not be out of school today. And what, he's been out of school for the last couple of weeks?
He's missed 9 days since Mr. Cieslak, since the ex parte was entered. He's missed 9 days of school.
Is that correct?
That does
Not since the ex parte was entered.
That does not include the 1 week of spring break, which was also during that time frame. So outside of spring break, he missed an additional 9 days of school.
Well, the problem, like Leon is concerned, this will happen. He's alleging domestic violence, and again, the mom's kind of abandoned him, and he's being called a liar. So Leon he's upset. He sees his mom in 3 hours of school every day. He's uncomfortable. He's actually texted dad from the school saying that the administration does nothing to prevent him from walking around. He's uncomfortable. He's uncomfortable.
Your
But she's
Honor,
in the presence.
I object to the characterization that Ms. Smith has somehow abandoned this child. Ms. Smith disciplined this child because of the way that he was speaking to her and the statements that he was making in the car. She disciplined this child. Looking back, she regrets how she chose to discipline him, but in that moment, asking him to vacate the vehicle was the only thing she could think to do. She did not hit him. No one forced him to leave the home subsequent to his returning. She has not abandoned this child. Additionally, Ms. Smith she's not a teacher. She's an aide at his school, and she's an aide in 2 classes that Leon is in. So this characterization that she's bothering him, around him all day, and she's abandoned him and abused him, it's all absolutely incorrect. There are no CPS investigations. There are no criminal charges.
Mr. LaPrade, is there any value from your standpoint in interviewing this child?
Your Honor, we will if the court directs us to. I'm just not sure what, I mean, based off of Mr. Kazmarik's representation, I could almost tell you what the child's going to say, whether it be right or wrong.
Yep, I would agree. All right, well, obviously the court, Mr. Cizak, poor choice on your part not sending him to school. His number one job in life right now is to go to school. And you as a parent need to make sure he goes to school. And that applies to both mom and dad. So the court's going to adopt this recommendation. You shall get him to school immediately after lunch today. You go to school every day, and you need to have a talk with your son. That's more beneficial to him than the court talking to him, in front of the court talking to him. You need to talk to him and tell him that he needs to respect his mother, just like he needs to respect you as his father. He's a minor child. He's 12 years old. I understand he's going through emotional problems, but his number one obligation is to go to school, not miss school. So get him to school this afternoon and to tell him that
number one obligation is
pick him up after school.
Facility that he can feel comfortable and actually learn. If his mother is breathing down his neck and he can't focus on his studies,
Mr. Cizak, we can't hear anything you're saying. You're breaking up.
I'm sorry. His number one response.
Mr. Kazmarek, do you want a custody hearing date, Mr. Kazmarek? Is that what we're going to do? If you're going to testify, do you want to hear custody hearing date?
I just got reprimanded and I can't even say it. Probably good, yes.
All right. Put the device in front of Mr. Cizak and the court will hear him out.
Your Honor, on December 23rd of this last year, my son had an appendix rupture and we were in the hospital, all 3 of us together for the first time as a family in 6 years. I was getting her blankets and coffee. We were co-parenting our child. When she needs me, I am there. When she does not want me, she alienates me and tells everybody at his school administration that I'm abusive. His counselors down in Sylvania, Ohio, believe that I'm abusive and will not even speak to me. She has done everything that she can to convince everybody that in our life that I'm an abusive father. Leon comes to me and he says, Dad, why does everybody think you beat me? Dad, why don't you pay your child support? Dad, why isn't your child support paid? Oh, well, son, I'm on unemployment. COVID hit hard. I'm behind on some stuff, but I'm back to work now. My stuff's getting garnished. Here's that. Here's my stuff. Well, Your Honor, pretty much what's going on is I tell my son that everything is circles. Everything is circles in life, and it's going to come back for you. The rule of 10. What good you put out is coming back for you times 10. What bad you put out is coming back for you times 10. It's going to be here. Like, I teach my son these things, and his mother does what she can. Does what she can all the time to alienate me. You need to speak to my son. It's not a recommendation. It is a need. Leon needs to be heard by the family courts and by you guys. He really does. And I'm sorry that I look crazy and eccentric defending my son. I know that I look insane, but the entire time we're arguing about school that she's in 3 of his classes with. Listen to what my son has to say about where he is and then tell me why I seem insane. Talk to my son, not us. If you have my son's best interest at heart, I promise you school is it's his only priority. It is in his circle. Your circle is growing into the person that you are going to be and being happy, learning who you are, and being who you are so you know what you want in life. I tell him these things. What she says that I say to my son, this is our adult relationship and what I explained to him. Your mom and I can't get along. And I'm sorry about that. But that doesn't mean that you talk to her the way that I talk to her. And she tells people I'm abusive and I lose my temper with her because she tells people that I hit you. That are his school administrators, are his counselors. His counselors are under the assumption his dad is abusive. Of course, they're not going to speak to me when I go down there to what is Helping Hands of Sylvania, Ohio. And I walk in and they look at me like I'm an abusive male before I even step in. It isn't fair. It's narcissistic. She's been lying to my son since he was a child, since he was a small, and her house of cards is blown up, and it is not my fault. It's not his. And then when she wanted to beat him and drop him off on Suter, they were arguing over child support. Why do you want to go to your dad's? Why do you even want to go over there? He doesn't even
Cezak, were
care.
you there? Mr. Cezak,
No,
did you hear
sir, I
firsthand
was
that
not, but
discussion?
I understand. My son is extremely articulate. My son is extremely intelligent. And I know
He's telling
my
you what
son.
you want to hear. He's telling mom what she wants to hear. But what the court's going to do, the court's going to obviously conflict. The court's going to add to this recommendation. The court's going to order that both of you to complete a highconflictsolutions.com workshop. And both of you do that
Thank
and
you.
provide the court with a 100-word statement in terms of what you learned from that class. And we'll set this for review in about 30 days. But in the meantime, the court is going to adopt this recommendation. The ex parte are to be vacated. The child's going to be returned to school today. The mom's parenting time is restored. And dad, you have to have that conversation with them. And if in fact, if there's still issues 30 days from now, the court will set this for a trial. You want a full-blown custody trial, and that's going to create a lot of issues for the relationship between you and his mother and the child. I can assure you that. So I want you to both, it's called the High Conflict Solutions, plural.com workshop. It's an online workshop. It'll help you address some of these difficult times. So you had to have the discussion with your son. Let him know he's going back with his mom. If in fact
100%.
there's issues in 30 days, we will set a custody hearing date.
Judge, I know that one of the questions my client did ask me is, can Leon have his own attorney? And I know this court doesn't normally do that, but I'm asking if an LGAL could be appointed, maybe the cost be split between the parties. That is a
If the
request.
two of you agree upon a JL, the court has no objection to that. But again, the parties will have to share the cost equally or what proportion to their respective incomes. The court does not pay for that. So we're going to give you a date to come back for review about June 11th or June 12th. That'll give both of you time to complete the workshop and provide the court with a 100-word essay of what you learned from the class. We have June 11th at 3 o'clock or June 12th at 2:45.
June
Either's fine.
12th at 2:45 would work better for me, Your Honor. Mr. Kaczmarek, either one.
All right, we'll set this for review, Mr. Perhaps you could put in there, the court will review these issues on June 12th at 2:45 p.m. Again, the court's going to order to get the child immediately back to not only school, but also counseling. So, Ms. Smith, you should, when you get done here, get that appointment scheduled ASAP.
Okay.
Can we have the child do a preference interview? Is that a possibility?
We're going to wait. And the court agrees with Mr. Pratt. At this point in time, he's going to say, I want to live with dad. I'm sure he's going to say that. But I think if he has if dad has a genuine discussion with his son saying, you've got to respect your mother. No, he also has to respect his father. I'd say the same thing if he is having issues with his dad right now. He's got to respect his father. He's got one mother and one father in this world. He needs his mother. And so I think that'll go a long way to restoring the parents' relationship between mother and son. But the counseling is critical for the child.
Violence. We don't even care about domestic violence allegations. We don't. There's nothing. If I was beating my son because I had to pay child support to his mom and dropped him off on the street,
there should be no discussion about this case with the child.
and yet she's discussing him and then hitting him over
talk about child support. No discussion about
she's discussing it with him and then hitting him over it.
Your Honor, may I respond to some of the things that Mr. Cieslak is saying?
Have Hope respond.
I attached to my motion several instances where Mr. Cieslak stated affirmatively to Ms. Smith in writing that he had shared pleadings, orders, and discussed this case with Leon, and has stated that he believes that Leon deserves to know that Ms. Smith is a whore. He sat in front of Leon on both Thursday and Friday of last week, calling Ms. Smith names that I will not repeat on this record. He calls her a whore repeatedly, tells her to fuck off in front of the child. And while he did on Friday start berating Miss Smith with disgusting language, when the minor child joined in on Mr. Cieslak's abuse, he did state to the child, don't talk to her the way that I'm talking to her, or which is
because it's not in his circle. How I speak to his mom.
That's,
and our
there's nothing more
relationship, him and his
damaging to a
mom.
minor child than either party to talk with the child in that regard about the other parent. So no disparaging remarks about the other parent with the child, and there should be no discussion of this case or any aspect of this case with the child. You simply
My son comes up to me
tell
and
the
asks me
child
questions.
that he's
I'm
going to
not
go
gonna
back to
lie.
mom. All right.
He's going to see that
We're
in
done.
records when he's an adult, just like I did. He's
Thank
going
you,
to see
Mr.
that.
Paget, the
Your Honor.
revised recommendation. And
Yes,
this
sir, it's in
matter
your
is
queue.
concluded. We'll see everyone back June 12th, 2:45.
thank you, Your Honor.
Get Leon back to school, Mr. Cieslak.
Hope you can pick him up from school today, okay?
He actually gets out at 11 o'clock today. Today was a half day. And also tomorrow is a half day. They have a school-wide show
Okay.
that
So
they are.
Let's get
Does
off.
Mr. Cieslak know that? Mr. Niebuhr, you want to call Mr. DeCasmeric and let him know there's no school this afternoon? I'm just hearing that for the first time.
Right, I'm just hearing it for the first time, Your Honor, too. So we're going to have to figure out how, hold on, we're going to have to figure out how to facilitate getting Leon from Mr. Cieslak to Miss Smith. I will reach out to Mr. Kazmarek and
Okay, and if there's an issue, you can come back this afternoon if the court needs to address that. I was not aware of that.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Okay, I hope you can go ahead and log off. I'll call you.
Why is my Zoom saying this is being live streamed to YouTube?
Okay.
Court is recalling top of page 2, Holmes Smith versus David Cieslak.
This matter was on the court docket this morning. The parties have returned apparently to address an issue that remains outstanding that needs to be addressed. Again, the parties are appearing via Zoom. Once again, Attorney Krysten Nemec with the plaintiff mother, Hope Smith, and Attorney Jason Kasmarek with defendant father, David Cieslak. Mr. Nemec, Mr. Kasmarek.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Was there another issue that the court needed to address this afternoon?
Yes, Your Honor. If you'll recall from this morning, neither Mr. Kazmarek nor I were aware that Leon had only a half day of school today. I believe we both intended that Ms. Smith would just pick Leon up from school. And when we found out that that was not an option, we did attempt to reach an agreement regarding exchange today. We've been unable to do that. Mr. Cieslak did offer Ms. Smith to come pick Leon up from his home at 6 o'clock tonight. I declined that on behalf of my client because I don't believe that it is safe for her to go to Mr. Cieslak's home. We requested that they exchange at the police department as they normally do. And, you know, we're open to times, but we would like it to occur at the police department. We would also, department? I believe they use the Erie PD. Is that correct, Hope?
Yeah, Erie Township, I believe. Yeah.
Well, certainly any exchanges should be at that location, this location, Erie Police Department. So the only issue being is the time. And now apparently the child does not have school, only half day tomorrow as well.
That is correct.
Okay.
It's a fucking shame because my son doesn't feel safe going to his mom's and she wants to hide behind her fear. My son is literally fucking laying here because he was crying when I got home. And now he wants to fucking sleep because he hasn't slept in weeks.
Stop. Okay, 3 o'clock, Mr. Cieslak. I'm not gonna hear.
Yeah, I'll be there at 3.
That
Your
kind of
Honor,
language in
Judge,
this
my
court,
son's
sir.
exact words were, this
Mr.
man's been
Cieslak,
dictating my life.
Mr. Kazmarek, you need to get control of your client, Mr. Kazmarek. He's not going to, the court will not permit that foul language, especially if his son is in the room. So Mr. Cieslak is ordered to bring the child to the Erie Police Department at 3 o'clock this afternoon. That's 1 hour from now.
Your Honor, if I may, Ms. Smith has blocked Mr. Cieslak from communicating with her via text.
It's not
We've
unsafe. My
repeatedly
son is
asked-
unsafe. I'll be there at 3.
repeatedly
Fuck
asked
yourself,
that the
Krysten.
parties use app close. Could we please include in the order that the parties use app close?
So I had suggested, I know Miss Hope had blocked him. And I suggested they communicate together because I didn't want to have time to deal with this all day. I have a lot of other things going on. So my client suggested 6. I called Ms. Nemec 3 times to try to work out something. She didn't answer. My client suggested 6 o'clock. He had left. So I put that in there. She's declined. I said, why don't the parties communicate? Because she has blocked him and she declined that as well. So that's where we're at.
So all communication should be by app close and only regarding the minor child. And the parties shall meet at 3 o'clock to facilitate the exchange. Obviously, dad's printing time starts this Friday? Friday at 6, is that correct?
That's correct.
I know from experience, every one of my clients has trouble connecting on app close. I've never had it'd be a smooth transition. So I don't know if they can work together to do that, but it's not an easy thing to connect the 2 clients. Every single time I've had app close used, but once they connect, it's fine. But getting connected has been difficult.
Okay.
Every
I was
time.
not aware of that. I've not heard that before, Mr. Kazmarek, so I was not aware it's difficult.
And I had this issue just at 1 o'clock hearing. I was about 3. I had the
You
same
haven't heard
problem
Leon either.
where
Right.
mom and dad are both on it. They weren't connecting, and we're trying to figure out how with the referee. And it was just it can be frustrating connecting themselves.
The pseudo-intellectual rhetorical babble of what's best for my son used is unacceptable. Continue to mute me, but I'm a father and my son is being abused and you're more concerned about school. Continue to, but my son is being abused and you are more concerned and her safety. Unacceptable.
Appear if he continues this. All right, 3 o'clock, 1 hour from now.
Make deliberations without listening to my.
Your Honor, would it be possible for friend of the court to, as soon as you've signed that order, email it to myself and Mr. Kazmarek so that Ms. Smith has that when she appears?
You can, you've not met with the front of the court today, so you can prepare an order, email it over here, and the court will sign it.
I'm not going to get her, but I will speak. Continue to mute me, but I will speak in son's best interest. I don't care. I will continue to unmute you, Your Honor, or unmute myself. This is my son's safety. This isn't his school. This is my son's safety. And you're going to be concerned about her safety?
You can call protective services, Mr. Cieslak. You got an attorney that's very.
I'm going through Toledo. They're investigating her in Toledo still. It's a misdemeanor of domestic violence. They aren't moving. They don't have a detective. It's slow. I've been down there every day.
David, hang on. To that end, Judge, I did. Miss Hope did speak with Leon via Zoom. Miss Nemec and I were on that Zoom call. I could tell you after that, Mr. Cieslak was out of the room. He was outside. He was in his vehicle. I did speak to Leon afterwards, and he was pretty upset. I mean, I will acknowledge that, and I understand the court's order. I understand what's going on, and I try to console Leon a bit. He is upset. He's unhappy. He doesn't.
His exact words, Your Honor, was Judge Bronlick has dictated my life for 8 years, and I have never even met the man.
Right. If the parents cannot raise their child, then the court's responsibility is to raise that child.
Your Honor, you don't have to have that responsibility, sir. My son is safe here. Everything that woman has told you is a lie about me, and I know.
Terminate this, please. Just terminate it. Okay, Mr. Nemec, you can prepare an order, send it over to the court, unless friend of the court can prepare your orders for you, but they're not involved this afternoon. So prepare the order, send it over. You can email it to Cindy, and I'll sign it, and we can sign it. You can come over and get 2 copies.
I will do that. Thank you, Your Honor.
For the record, this matters before the court for the purpose of reviewing parenting time. In addition, Attorney Jason Kazmarek had filed the motion to withdraw as the attorney of record for the defendant, Father David Cieslak. This hearing is being conducted via Zoom. President Attorney Krysten Nemec representing the plaintiff, Hope Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Mr. Cieslak, you're present on audio. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
The court did receive from Attorney Kazmarek a stipulated order where Mr. Cizak, you've agreed that Mr. Kazmarek can withdraw as your attorney of record. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Your Honor.
All right, so it's not been submitted to the court for signature. I think it was just an emailed copy, but that will be sent to the clerk's office for the court to enter. So that issue has been addressed. With respect to attorney time, the court has received the following recommendation from Ms. LaPrada from the front of the court. The recommendation is as follows: that the current parenting time order shall be suspended until such time as CPS investigation is completed and father completes an anger management course. Neither party shall use corporal punishment as a form of discipline, and Mr. Cizak shall complete an anger management course. Obviously, something has happened since we were last in court on May 7th that the court was not aware of. The court would note for the record that both parties completed the high conflict solutions workshop as ordered by this court and did submit essays. Ms. LaPrada, does your office have a copy of their essays?
I do, Your Honor. Ms. Cieslak's was emailed the other day and uploaded, and Ms. Nemec was kind enough to send me Mr. Cieslak's today, so I do have both of them.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that your office had a copy of those. The court was pleased that both parties seemed to be receptive and felt they benefited from the class. The court likes feedback. All right, Ms. Nemec, obviously you're agreeing with this recommendation. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't know if we need to get into what happened, but Mr. Cizak, do you understand the recommendation this afternoon? Is that your parenting time be suspended until you complete an anger management class and CPS completes their investigation?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. I mean, I'm not happy with it. I do have an objection to it, but I do understand the court's recommendation for it. It's been a very confusing past few months for all parties involved. And honestly, I would like also to apologize to you, Your Honor. A lot of what I said in the app close was offensive to the courts, not only Ms. Smith. I'm not blaming my son by any way whatsoever, but with the information that I was getting from my son at the time, I don't want to use the word justified, but I felt like at the time what I was saying was in defense of my child. And it's not, I know it wasn't. I went and to get into the matters of what happened, I smacked my son on May 20th. And that is what the CPS investigation is about. He had told CPS that I had smacked him for 40 minutes straight and I had threatened to kill our dogs. And that is a kind of the same around about things that he was saying about his grandfather and his mother. The situation that we are in right now is because Hope and I, from the conflict resolution class that I had taken, we need to reframe how we think about each other. When he comes over here and he says things about his mother, I barely even know his mother as a person anymore with our lack of communication. And I go off of what my son says 100%, and that's can't be done anymore. He's at an age where he's manipulating both of us. He knows that we are not fans of each other, and he is taking full advantage of that. And I don't blame him. He is a boy. It's not, but I did smack him on the 20th. And that is what is going on. And I had gone through his messages with his mother, and I woke him up and I put him in the corner and I was like, Leon, you have been lying about this entire situation. The allegations you made against your mother in Toledo could have put her in jail. It could have cost her a career. A lot of what, and I said, son, as a matter of fact, I told you the next time you lied to me, I would smack you in the mouth. And I told Leon, come here. And I smacked him, and it left a bruise. Amber McFall was here. She had to go through my whole house because Leon's allegations were that there were holes in all of my walls, that I had beat him for 40 minutes straight, and that my house was unclean. And she came through, and all of that was false. Everything that my son had said to her was false. And I presented to her Toledo police all my son's statements that he was making against his mother in Toledo as well. It did happen. No.
Okay, you're breaking up, Mr. Cizak.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if we need to get in more detail. I am pleased that you recognize that your son is playing one of you against the other. There's no question that 12-year-old can be challenging. Obviously, he's challenging both his father as well as his mother, pushing you to the limits. So you need to be on the same page for the benefit of each other, and particularly Leon. So you want to take this anger management course?
Whatever the court suggests, I will do. Honestly,
Well,
whatever.
That's what Mr. Prad's recommending, and the Prad has many years of experience. So the court's inclined to adopt your recommendation, and what I'd like to do is set this for review so that you don't have to petition the court. This court wants nothing more than to restore the relationship between you and your son. Is Leon in counseling right now?
Yes.
Ms. Nemec?
He is, and I believe he attends weekly at this point, correct, Ms. Smith?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and is there any objection, Mr. Cizak, talking to that counselor at some point in time to perhaps a counselor can assist in reestablishing the relationship between father and son?
I think it's important to maintain the counseling relationship that's been established between Leon and his counselor, but I don't think that there would be an objection to Mr. Cizak and Leon seeing a separate counselor together to attempt to repair their relationship.
Okay. I just didn't know if
Your Honor,
the existing counselor had any recommendations. Go ahead, Mr. Cizak.
I was just here last weekend. My son and my relationship isn't damaged as it's being brought to the courts in that perspective. It really isn't. My son was just here this weekend. He was helping me with yard work. I explained to him, I was like, Leon, that is the first time I've ever laid hands on you, and CPS has been at our house. Like, what is going on? And he knows that I know that he's been lying. And I don't know if his mother is on the same page as far as the extent or how extensive his lies have been. And I mean, for perspective, my 88-year-old grandmother still thinks that he's in an abusive relationship at his mother's house. She is still very upset with how this has all played out. And it's been very difficult to convince her that he is safe over there. So it's been a very strange road since 3/26. And I picked him up at a Dollar General where he was saying that he had to leave an abusive domestic violence relationship with his grandfather and his mother. And it really did strike a nerve with me. And I did believe him full throttle. And I can't go back on the fact that I did that. I can't. It's what happened. And on the 20th, I did smack him on the mouth. And leave a bruise. Amber McFall did come here. We did put a safety plan in place. I admitted to her, on the 20th, when I dropped Leon off, I asked Hope to roll down her window and told her that I smacked Leon and that I knew that everything that he said was lies and that she wasn't abusing him. And I made him apologize to his mother that Sunday. And then I was getting calls from CPS the next Friday. And I understand. I really do, because when he goes to his mother's house and he says that my dad woke me up beating me, he beat me for 40 minutes straight, and he threatened to kill me and the dogs if I told anybody, is what Amber told me my son had said. So it's not, I understand where Hope is coming from. I completely acknowledge that my son is believable when he is as adamant as he is with what he's saying. And anger management, I'll do it. Or I don't like it and I will object to it, but I will do it. And it's
right. Mr. Cizak, you've had contact Leon's, you've had parenting time with Leon after this incident where you struck him in the mouth, correct?
Yes, sir. I have. I had him all this previous weekend.
Your Honor, that was because I advised Ms. Smith that there was an order in place and she needed to try to convince Leon to go. That was the only reason. Leon fought strenuously to avoid parenting time and has expressed repeatedly that he is fearful of physical punishment, which again, Mr. Cizak has repeatedly admitted to engaging in, and which was so severe it left bruises on the side of this child's face.
Bruce.
I can share a picture with the court if the court is inclined to see it.
Is Ms. Smith concerned about this reoccurring?
Yes, Mr. Cizak has demonstrated over the course of years his issues with managing his own anger. He has engaged in verbal abuse, physical abuse of Miss Smith in front of the minor child, calling her names, which again,
we're trying to move forward.
If I was in
the court would like to hope that both
am I
parties,
not prosecuted with that?
Hold on, Mr. Cizak. The court would like to think both parties have a little insight into the relationship with their 12-year-old child who is being most challenging. And so rather than drag up things from the past, I'd like to move forward, even with a provision in here that neither party should use corporal punishment from discipline. Ms. Smith is still concerned about Leon's welfare with his dad.
yes, she is. And she would like to see
A month ago,
investigation.
I was concerned of Leon's well-being with his grandfather and his mother.
Mr. Cizak, hold on. Let Ms. Nemec finish, please.
The difference here is that Ms. Smith never smacked Leon, and there were no marks on Leon. And in this incident, Mr. Cizak admits to smacking Leon, and there are bruises on this child's face days later. That is the difference. There is a substantiated allegation. I've spoken with Ms. McFall myself. Mr. Cizak, while we were before Ms. LaPrade, called Ms. McFall himself. The allegations in the CPS investigation are going to be substantiated, but the investigation is not complete.
Okay. Well, basically, CPS will just put together a safety plan, correct? And presumably one element of the safety plan is that Mr. Cizak completed an anger management course, correct?
That is not what she has suggested so far. And in fact, she did not put any prohibition on Mr. Cizak physically disciplining this child.
Well, because when she came here and I had files of my son stating that he was terrified of his grandfather and his mother, the abuse of Leon, she was surprised when she was not surprised for any other reason other than the fact that I had 8 police reports that were stating that my son was terrified to go to school, that he was terrified to be around his grandfather and his mother. My son has been playing both sides of the fence. That is true. And
okay, Mr. Cizak, the court understands all that. There's no question that 12-year-old can push a parent to limit, and yet we're all human.
And the safety plan
sometimes strike out without a bad motive. They do strike out to their children. So the court believes this recommendation is appropriate at this time. It'll benefit you. You look good in the eyes of protective services. For you to complete an anger management course, contact a counseling agency. I'm sure the front of the court caseworker can provide you with a name of an agency that does this kind of work. And I would suggest enrolling that as soon as possible. Get it done. The sooner, the better you can complete that, and you have documentation. So the court's going to adopt the recommendation, but I'm going to set a review date. So as
Your Honor,
I want to reestablish relationship between you and Leon.
If I may, when I spoke to Amber, she said that the only reason why the CPS investigation is open is because it's open for 30 days regardless. And when she was at my house, she did say that she believes that I was disciplining Leon, and the safety plan that she put into place was to spank Leon on the butt from now on. She said, even though you are allowed to smack in the face in Michigan, that you shouldn't do it. As a male, there is a high definite chance that you are going to leave a bruise on your son's face. So I recommend that you spank him from now on when you discipline him. And when she left my house, she knew that it was discipline.
Understand, but this court's can enter an order that there be no corporal punishment. So neither parent shall physically discipline the child. You basically impose some other form of discipline, take away his cell phone, have him sit on the step.
Actually, to brush on that real quick,
punishment other than discipline. So the court's going to set a review date in about, I have no idea how quickly we can take this class, perhaps maybe 45 days. We want to reestablish relationship with you and Leon. The court would also suggest find a counseling agency that can meet with both you and Leon to have those frank discussions and helping you restore that relationship.
Yes,
so
sir.
The court wants nothing more, Mr. Cizak, than to reestablish things between you and Leon.
I believe we did that over this past weekend, but I understand where the court is coming from. And then also, and the only reason why I bring it up is you said that for discipline to ground him from his phone. I believe that the court said that neither one of the parents are allowed to take his phone away at one point. So I don't want to go against court ruling if that is still in effect.
Miss, is that a provision of a prior order, Ms. Nemec?
It is the last order. We wanted to make sure that Leon was able to contact the other parent at any time if necessary. There are other electronic items that they can take away from him as forms of punishment. Video game consoles and iPads and things like that. But we wanted to make sure that he always had a mechanism to reach out to the other parent.
You can get all those games on his phone. Taking away a tablet does nothing when the child's got his phone.
Yeah, I'm going to be speaking to somebody who's a little bit more advanced with technology than myself, and they're going to be placing any adult blockers that they can on his phone. But I also shared all of his passwords with his mother just recently, so she has access to his phone as well, so she can see our messages and she can see that he is effectively playing both sides of the fence. It's
Right, so Mr. Cizak, yes, there is a provision right now that you can't take away his phone. We can discuss that further in the future. I don't know what Ms. Smith is suggesting, how you discipline the child if he's got his phone with him. It's not much of a discipline if you can't impose physical corporal punishment. In any event, the course can adopt the recommendation. We'll set this for review. Are you available, Ms. Nemec, on July 31st at 1:30?
It looks, no, I'm not at 1:30.
August 7th at 2 o'clock.
Go back there. So yes, I can do August 7th at 2.
All right. Ms. Pratt, if you can just add to the recommendation, the court will review dad's parenting time August 7th at 2 p.m. So Mr. Cizak, court would suggest get that anger management counseling, get enrolled in that, completed as soon as possible. Hopefully when you come back on August 7th, you have documentation completed that, and also try to find a counselor that can meet with you and Leon that does some family counseling that can facilitate a discussion in a supervised setting between you and Leon to work through some of these differences. And Leon needs to be truthful to both of his parents. And
yeah, Your Honor, I already had Leon over this last weekend, and we had more than a couple of heart-to-hearts about it. He had to go to his grandmother and explain to her that he was lying. He was a lot that he had to deal with over this last weekend, and he's already done it. And I believe that we could move forward in a productive manner from this point. I mean, I'm already speaking to him daily on his phone, and he has already been at my house, and he was helping me with yard work to earn watching a show that evening before he went to bed back. So he wasn't here just being screamed at about what's going on. He needs to learn from these mistakes. And he did. He made some pretty big mistakes, and I tried to explain to him it's not who he is. It's you made mistakes and you can move forward from it and you can learn from them. So I would like to get this anger management class done as quickly as possible. And does this mean that I won't be seeing my son until August?
well, again, unless you can do it, can we do more? I don't know how long the class is, but it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Do we have something before July 31st? I know that the court's concerned, especially if Dad had print time with Leon this past weekend, there were no issues. But if Ms. Smith believes that this needs to be done, that there's a history of anger management issues with Mr. Cizak, then the court will order that.
I would see why she would say that. I don't blame her.
Okay.
It's not been
About July 17th, 8:30, Ms. Nemec?
Yes, that would work.
All right, I'm sorry, Ms. Pratt, if you put July 17th at 8:30, we'll review this. So in the meantime, what about phone contact?
That's a very long time to go without
Leon
seeing
and
my
Dad.
son. He's not going to
All
be
right, I
pleased
understand
with
that. Hold on just a minute. Mr. Cizak, hold on just a minute. Ms. Nemec, any objection to Dad having phone contact with Leon?
I'm going to have to defer to you on that, Hope. What is your feeling on that?
No, I don't think there needs to be a limit on phone contact.
Father to have reasonable phone
Okay,
contact.
well,
Yes.
well, Dad, are you concerned about Mr. Cizak having inappropriate discussions with Leon?
I can
What's-
see the conversations now that I have the Leon's password. So I feel like I can monitor if the conversation is appropriate for my child.
That's why I gave it to you.
If it's appropriate, then I don't mind the contact, but if it's not appropriate, I will definitely like put a restriction on that for sure.
Well, what if Mr. Cezak had texted Leon to say, call me if you want to talk? And Leon initiates the phone call. Any objection to that?
No.
All right, so that's what the court suggests. I'm not putting this in order, Mr. Cezak, but obviously you can text Leon, just say, hey, buddy, you know, whatever. I'm always going to be here for you. Call me. I missed.
Your Honor, he knows he's going to
be how you're doing.
He's going to be more upset with this order than I am.
Mr. Cezak, I know you're not giving the court an opportunity to talk. You want to do all the talking, so go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. My son's not going to be pleased with this. He was just here this weekend. He's not going to be pleased with not seeing me for a month. I know that for a fact. Like, I do know that it's beneficial for Hope's case for her to say that she is afraid, but she knows that Leon is in no danger here. I know that she knows that. I know that she knows I care about my son as much as she does. And it is, I believe, an attempt from her to hurt mine and Leon's relationship further. He was just here this weekend.
Let's not assume that, Mr. Cezak. Come on, we're making some progress here. Let's not throw it around. The court's going to order you to take the counseling. The sooner you get started, the sooner we can get a reestablished relationship with Leon. So just focus in on your wellness. If there's been a history of assaultive behavior, anger management, blowing up, take the class. And you provide documentation of that, so hopefully we can get things back on track when we appear before the court on July 17th.
I've said insultful things to Hope, but I have not been charged with assault. I don't have a history of it. I haven't been charged with physical abuse against Hope. I haven't been charged. So I mean, okay, I get it. But when we were finally on the same page and I disciplined my son for lying to me about allegations that could put his mother in jail and are dangerous for the adults in his life, and when we are finally on the same page, he's gone. So I get it. I do.
You don't
I
smack
understand.
a child in the face, Mr. Cezak. That's where we sort of across the line when you smack him in the face, and you acknowledge that. So that'll be the order of the court. Hopefully we'll have a documentation. You completed the class by July 17th. You can still text Leon to say, hey, I'm here if you want to talk. And if he wants to make the call, if he wants to talk to you, he can initiate the phone call.
Your Honor, did you want that incorporated in the recommendation that father have reasonable phone contact, or did you not want that?
We can do that, but again, it's got to be initiated by by Leon. The phone contact be initiated by Leon. The father can text Leon, but make it appropriate. You want to be gentle with Leon, Mr. Cezak, so you don't he doesn't back away. And then talk with the counselor. Maybe they can offer you suggestions. How do you deal with a difficult 12-year-old? So you can have phone contact with them.
From the back away.
But to have Leon initiate the phone contact, you just text them and just say, hey, I'm available. Call me if you want to talk. I miss you. Yeah, hopefully we can reestablish things on July 17th at 8:30.
We've reestablished things this last weekend, but okay. Thank you.
That's the primary question I asked. I asked it about 20 minutes ago. I asked Miss Smith if Leon was there this past weekend, is there still a concern and issue? And she said yes. That there's been
with her, with my son, there wasn't.
Warrant a anger management counseling program. Mrs. Pratt is recommending that, and the court's going to adopt that recommendation. So a copy of this order will be forwarded to both parties. We'll see one back on July 17th at 8:30. If you have trouble finding a counseling program, Mr. Cezak, reach out to your friend of the court caseworker. They can give you a name of an agency that your insurance would cover. The court wants nothing more than to reestablish things between you and Leon. Rest assured, I'm sincere in that.
Well, established it this last weekend. The relationship between Hope and I is what's preventing anything from being established between Leon and I. She's the one that is fearful for Leon, and Leon is not fearful. Leon knows what goes on at my house, and he is effectively running from discipline from both parents with the court's aid at this point. Like it's not even Amber said the safety plan that we put into place. She's like, you are allowed to smack your child in the face, but if you leave a bruise, it is abuse. So do not do that. You should smack him on the butt from now is exactly what she told me. And she
already told me that. You already told me at this court that you not smack on the butt. You don't touch him. Neither one of you shall inflict any corporal punishment. Okay. So that will conclude this hearing. Everyone can zoom out. Have a good rest of the day.